Hello and welcome to another episode of What Travis Says. My name is Travis and let's talk about Doctor Who. More specifically, Season 11, Episode 7, Kerblam. Now if you've not yet watched the episode Kerblam, do not watch this video any farther because there will be spoilers. The episode begins with the TARDIS being chased through the time vortex. The Doctor identifies it as a teleport pulse, and what teleports aboard the TARDIS is a Kerblam man. Now the thing that struck me as odd is how is the Kerblam man supposed to track down the Doctor through all of time and space? The Kerblam man is chasing the TARDIS through time and space and then teleporting inside of the TARDIS. How? Nothing is supposed to be able to materialize inside of the spaceship, unless of course the Doctor has the shields down, in which case the Titanic can smash through the wall, but that is not this scenario. To be fair though, the Doctor does say that she's trying to get a handle on the controls. Maybe the shields aren't down, which is incredibly unsafe, traveling through the time vortex with your shields down. So the Doctor receives a delivery and it's a fez with a message attached that says, "Help me." So of course, Team TARDIS has to investigate, so they travel to the headquarters of Kerblam. Wait, sorry, Kerblam, not Kerblam. Kerblam. And as soon as we saw the robots in the facility, I thought to myself, haven't we seen this episode a few times before? The emoji bots that faced off against Capaldi in Smile? The Smilers from 2010's The Beast Below? I don't know, maybe my robophobia is showing. And upon watching the episode, we all know that there are obvious references to Amazon. Kerblam employs 10,000 human workers. Although Amazon now employs 566,000 workers all across the globe, so maybe Amazon should start looking at real estate on the moon. But at least Amazon workers get to go home to their families a little more frequently, right? When Team TARDIS arrives under the guise of being new employees, they are scanned, and we once again have somebody looking rather curiously at the Doctor's medical readouts. Sure, Judy, head of people, comments on the whole two hearts thing, but if you look at her face, she looks a little more curious about something beyond the hearts. A few weeks ago in my Serenga video, I said this. But just what did Astis see when he was looking at the Doctor's medical records? It couldn't just be because she had two hearts, or else that would have been commented on, but it wasn't. Astis was so unnerved after looking at the Doctor's medical records that when she brought it up later, he just said that everything was fine and she called him a bad liar. That was the beginning of the whole bad liar thing. Is there gonna be something more down the line that this has to do with? Because the episode is making a big deal about mentioning this one thing and then leaving it alone. And then later in the episode, Kerblam twirly said, "Customers with your current medical condition browse blood pressure medication." And yeah, it could be a joke about the Doctor having two hearts and a person like that needing blood pressure medication, but I think that there's something else going on there. Side note, when the Doctor asked Twirly for help and Twirly turned around and Graham said, "Now you've made it nervous," I literally laughed out loud very hard. That was hilarious delivery. I loved Graham in this episode. He had more energy, he was sarcastic, he had better quips. It was great. It was hilarious. And the way he was able to schmooze Charlie into helping him out by getting the plans of the building. And Charlie ended up getting the diagram of Kerblam for Graham. Yaz really comes into her own during this adventure, making an effort to bond with Dan before following into the imminent danger of the 999s. Ryan is given a more physical role, having to overcome that in order to save someone else. And the Doctor is actually putting more action above words in this episode, making it a little more balanced. She's a little less rambly and a little more action-oriented, making plans and executing them before anybody has quite the chance to catch up. She's just always one step ahead, which is what I love about the Doctor. And this episode shows the first time that the 13th Doctor has barged into a room demanding answers from the villain, or who she thought the villain was going to be. This is something that the Doctor has done quite a bit in the past, but it's the first time that we've seen Doctor number 13 just barging in, demanding answers. "I'm the Doctor, tell me what's going on." And as they kept digging into the mystery, they find out that the system has been saying, "Help me," but that the system has also been liquefying people. They find out that the power drains were to store up energy for a massive attack with deadly weaponized bubble wrap. And the episode was not predictable at all, with the weapon being bubble wrap and Charlie being the villain. Kinda. Charlie was kind of the villain. I honestly did not see that coming, but it makes sense when you go back and rewatch the episode. The whole time we thought the system was evil, that someone was controlling things up top, or that the system was going rogue. We had no idea that there was a weaponized threat in play and that that weapon was going to be bubble wrap. The Kerblam system has a consciousness, and the Kerblam system was fighting against Charlie and needing the doctor's help. The reason that the Kerblam robots were attacking Charlie is because they knew that he was the villain. He was plotting to murder thousands and thousands of people. But in doing so, it made the robots look rogue. So even though it was completely unintentional, Charlie still had that card up his sleeve. And as we hear right from Charlie's mouth, he has his own intentions, but he's not the activist that he believes he is. He's just a murderer. But the best, most three-dimensional villains are the ones that believe that they are doing the right thing for the right reasons. Another thing that I loved about this specific episode is that it had so many references to previous doctors, previous adventures. Yeah, obviously, the Fez was a reference to Doctor Number 11, because Fezes are cool. But even more specifically, after the Big Bang 2, the Doctor woke up and said, "Oh, I escaped. I love it when I do that. Checks for the bow tie, checks for the Fez. I can buy a Fez." And he bought a Fez. So he ordered it, but it just arrived 2 regenerations too late. Though, to be fair, how hard is it to track down the address of someone who travels through space and time and can also change their face every now and then? It's gotta be pretty difficult. When the topic of wasps come up, the Doctor mentions Agatha Christie from The Unicorn and the Wasp. Remember the episode where the alien wasp was committing all of these murders? You don't have to go back and watch the episode. Don't put yourself through that, please. And then there's that line, "Some of my best friends are robots." Now, it could just be a one-off line about the Doctor saying that she has some mechanical friends. The Doctor does that every now and then, brings up an alien species that we've never seen, a planet that we've never been to. But I think it's more of a tongue-in-cheek comment, not only a reference to K9, but also handles. The Doctor also used Venusian Aikido, something that the Doctor does quite frequently if you pay attention. The first televised time was with the 3rd Doctor in the 1970 episode The Inferno. And the 7th Doctor actually dealt with an erratic computer system when he visited a shipping facility way back when. Well, it wasn't entirely way back when. It was in 2015's audio drama The Warehouse, which you may or may not consider 100% canon, though it is an interesting little tidbit of trivia. But I wanted to end this video on the topic of what the actual message of this episode was, at least to me. At the beginning of the episode, with the obvious Amazon parallels, I thought that the message throughout the entire episode was going to be automation is bad. But that is not the case, not at all. Charlie's belief is that automation is bad. There was an economic crisis happening because only a small fraction of the populace was even able to work. But he wants to murder millions of innocent consumers in order to get the laws to change to force the company to hire more workers. That is where his ideals start to fall apart. And if you left it at that, it's a pretty bizarre approach for Doctor Who to take. Yeah, sure, organic workforce all the way, gives people a purpose, but maybe don't murder millions of people in order to make that happen, yeah? The Doctor actually spells out the conflict. The systems aren't the problem. How people use and exploit the system, that is the problem. The Kerblam system actually grew some sort of humanity in order to care about the workers in the system. The system was not the problem. The humans, above everyone else that we saw in the episode, pulling the strings of the system, they are the problem. Judy, head of people, Slade, warehouse executive, they ended up caring about their workforce. They weren't in the wrong. They were just trying to do right by their workers. The Kandokan labor laws were passed to force this company to make 10% of its workforce organic. Do you think they would have done that without the laws being in place? If it weren't for those laws, the Kerblam workforce would probably be 99.9% automation. And I really wish they would have at least shown a glimpse of the people above everyone we saw in the episode pulling the strings who wanted complete automation. They were the villains. But as it stands right now, it's a faceless leader of an organization who just wants complete automation no matter what happens to the human populace. So they're faceless. They're behind the scenes. Overall, this season so far has been very accessible for new viewers, and now it's starting to sprinkle in some older references for us classic fans. And with all of the references, the 13th Doctor is definitely coming into her own. What do you think? Still me? As if they would know. See, this Doctor does that a lot. She makes comments to her companions, not realizing that They don't know about her previous history, and that's kind of one of the kooky things that I like about her. She just assumes that the companions are trying to keep up with what she's rambling on about. Now, if only they could tie in a little more of the Doctor's personal history into the show, maybe show some effects of some causes that happened way back in previous regenerations, maybe a few classic villains, maybe the Valeyard. As it stands right now, Kerblam is one of my favorite episodes of this season. But in the comments down below, let me know your thoughts on Kerblam. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have changed about the episode? What did you think about all of the references? Were there any references that I may have missed? And as always, my name is Travis. Thank you for listening to what I have to say. If you want it, Kerblam it, and you will see me soon.